to another episode of the Cozy Cottage Crochet Podcast. My name is Hannah, and this is a podcast all about crochet, sometimes knitting, sometimes sewing, sometimes all kinds of things, and generally living the yarniest life possible in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live. If you want to follow me on all the interwebs, you can find me as the Cozy Cottage Crochet. Although I am most active on Instagram, that is where I post random life updates in between podcasts. And of course on Ravelry, we do have a podcast group for this channel. It is called the Cozy Cottage Crochet Podcast. So search for that. You'll find me there. So this podcast is a couple of days late, as I'm sure you know. I will tell you all about why. I have so many things to tell you guys. But first, I just want to make a couple of quick announcements. Number one, I just want to say one more time a huge thank you to everyone who participated in the Knitted Knockers Crochet Along, Knit Along. We had a total of 122 pairs of knockers made and posted in the finished object thread. Now, that didn't include mine. I still had 4 pairs as well, so really 126 pairs, which puts us at 252 total knockers, which is crazy. So I already have drawn all the prize winners. Most of them have already received their prizes. I posted a video about it last week and everyone got back to me with their address. So hopefully, if you haven't got your prize yet, it will show up in a day or so. I did mail them all out on Wednesday this week. It's just amazing that we were able to make so many knockers and make such a difference in the lives of women who have been affected by breast cancer. So thank you times a billion to everyone who participated or who donated prizes or who sent along good thoughts and well wishes. We appreciate you very much. Second announcement is the Love Yourself Cal started on May 1st, and that is a crochet along / knit along / I suppose you could weave or spin or embroider, whatever you want to do, is started on May 1st and is going to go until June 30th. The only rule to join this along with us is that it must be for you. The project has to be for you. So go check out the chatter thread and in the Ravelry group for this crochet along. There are some fabulous projects going on right now. I have already added several to my library and to my queue because I want to make so many things. So go check that out. If you have not joined the crochet along yet, you have until June 30th. Just make something for yourself. I know we always get caught up in making gifts and lots of things for other people, which is a problem I have had in my life, is I crocheted all the time and had nothing to show for it. So the Love Yourself Cal is all about spending a little bit of time on you, and there will be prizes from the chatter thread and the finished object thread. So go check out that on the Ravelry group. Okay, let's jump right in, shall we? It has been an absolutely insane whirlwind of 2 weeks. And I have so many things to tell you that this podcast is going to be a little bit of a different format. So I'm not going to go finished objects, works in progress, acquisitions. I'm just going to kind of talk and have a conversation with you about the last 2 weeks because it's been so crazy and everything has been interspersed and all over the place, and it'll just help me if we do this in chronological order because that will make a lot more sense to me. Before I start with the yarny stuff though, I do want to quickly comment about what I am wearing. As you can see, I am not wearing any crochet. However, I am wearing something super cool and I don't wear it very often because it's really special and I don't want anything to happen to it. My husband got me this. Let me scoot back. It is just a cardigan. It's blue, it's long sleeves, it has gray trim, and it buttons. Just a normal cardigan, except for it has this logo on it, which if you know what this means, you are a nerd. I can't help you. You're totally a nerd, which I would know what this logo means. This logo is the College of Winterhold logo from the video game Skyrim. So there's a magician's college in this video game Skyrim, which I am obsessed with, okay? And that's where you go to like learn how to do magic in the game. So this is, my husband got me this as a present last year when I kind of finished my coursework for my degree that I just graduated from. More on that later. He got me this and said for when you finish up your studies and go on to the College of Winterhold, it gets cold there. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll know that that's very funny. So it's a really treasured possession because it came from like the video game company, and it just was so sweet of him. And like I said, I don't wear it a ton because I don't want anything to happen to it. It's so special, but it has been raining nonstop all day. Like right now it's sprinkling. It's super gloomy outside and gray, and my avocado plant is like so droopy. All of the leaves are pointing straight at the ground. So I hope it perks back up, but I'm afraid it's not. It's gonna rain all day tomorrow too. So the lighting is weird. Everybody's mood is weird today. Traffic was horrible. And so I pulled out this cardigan because that's what I wanna wear. So that's what I'm wearing. Let's talk about the last 2 weeks. So the last time I podcast like a day early because that Friday night was prom at my church, and then the Saturday morning was a women's breakfast where I was speaking, and then we were going out to celebrate my birthday and my best friend's boyfriend's birthday. And there is a little place like a half an hour north of where I live called Dunedin, and they have lots of little craft breweries, and you can like walk to all of them. So that's where we went out. We had some drinks, we had some delicious food, and I wore a sombrero. And so did he. That was our birthday hat. I don't know why we did that, but it was super fun. And so I have an acquisition to show you from that day because my BFF, Caitlin, got me a crochet related gift, which I haven't done anything with because I've been waiting to show you. It's super cool. It's a Star Wars crochet. So you can make Yoda, you can make Chewie, you can make a Stormtrooper, you can make an Ewok, you can make a Jabba. So this comes with everything you need to make the Yoda and a Stormtrooper. They're not that big, although I'm sure I could make them plenty bigger by double stranding it, but it's so cute. I will definitely be making all of these because Star Wars, y'all. Also, I have my tickets to Solo already. I have some concerns about that movie, I'm gonna be honest, but I'm trying to reserve judgment until we actually see it, but that certainly will not stop me from seeing it opening night. So, and you can make actually more than what's on the front. You can also make C-3PO, Darth Vader, Han Solo, Luke and Leia, and R2-D2. So there's all kinds of patterns in here. I'm really excited. You will see as I make these, I'm gonna have a whole collection of little Star Wars stuffies, and I'm gonna put them in my office at work. So that was just so sweet of her. And she also gave me these, which look like sewing patterns, but they're not. They're notebooks. How cool is that? And she was disappointed because she thought they were patterns. I'm actually kind of happy they're not, because then I would feel guilty for not making them. Instead, they're little notebooks, and I think they're just really pretty. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm not showing the camera. I think they're really pretty, and I'm definitely going to use them. Maybe I'll use them to keep track of all of my projects. So that was Saturday. Sunday was just regular church 2 weeks ago. And then on that Monday, I worked all day, and there's a craft group that meets every month at church, and they do like a different craft every month. And this particular month, they asked me to teach them how to crochet. So we learned how to crochet. 2 hours is not really enough time. There was like 12 to 15 people there. It's not really enough time for me to teach that many people how to crochet. We learned how to chain and do single crochet. And I sent them all home with a very detailed washcloth pattern that I pulled off of line. And a few people have stuck with it. One person actually finished their entire washcloth. So I'm thinking we probably need another session because that wasn't enough time. But it was so much fun. And then on Tuesday, I just was so wiped out. I was so tired from the long weekend and not sleeping enough and just going and going and going. And for Tuesday and Wednesday night I worked pretty late, and Thursday I was just so exhausted and I didn't want to do anything. Like I did not have the brain power left to be able to concentrate on anything complicated, to start a new project. I just wanted something relaxing, some relaxing crochet. And so I really only worked on one project that whole first week. Let me show it to you though, because it's almost finished. It is living in this super cute bag with little buttons that a lovely podcast viewer named Lorna sent to me. This is the Kelsey shawl, which is a new pattern which was just released by the lovely Lacey of the Hooked on Owls podcast. And let me show it to you. My pattern is all folded up. Okay, so that's the pattern. It's just called the Kelsey shawl. It uses one ball of Lion Brand mandala yarn. Now I have some Lion Brand mandala yarn. Did I use that? No. I went to Walmart and bought another ball because, you know, as you do. So the colorway that I picked was Phoenix, and I have finished the whole thing. This is such an easy project. And I don't mean easy in a derogatory way. I mean, it was mindless. The stitch pattern is really easy to memorize, and it's the only thing I reached for all week because I didn't have to think about it, and I just needed some decompression crochet. So, look at this. It's a finished shawl. Now, you start here, and then it has this pattern. This is the stitch pattern. It has these little lace panels. So you just keep going and going. That's where it changed. That doesn't really bother me. And you keep going and going and going. Now, in the pattern, it doesn't really say how big it's supposed to be. You're just supposed to really go until you run out of yarn. But in the pattern, she only calls for 4 of these lace repeats and then to go until you run out of yarn. However, I crochet pretty tightly, as we all know if you've watched this podcast before. And I just knew that if I kept going here, it was gonna be huge. So I actually did another lace repeat and then finished off the ball. And I finished off with maybe 3 or 4 feet left, not enough to do a whole row. I have woven in the ends, and I have blocked the heck out of this. I pinned it out like nobody's business because it was quite scrunched up, and I really wanted it to be open and lacy because I live in Florida, and also I think that pattern is really pretty. So I blocked this to death. The only thing I say it's not really finished yet is because I haven't washed it, and it's a little stiff because it's the Lion Brand mandala yarn. So it's a little bit stiff because it needs to be washed and put through the dryer, which you can totally wash and dry this, like no problem. It's not going to do anything to the yarn. In fact, it's going to improve it significantly. So this is what it looks like. The colors are a little muted on camera almost. I think it's the gray sad lighting outside, but it's pretty true to form. I really like it. The only thing is I don't really know how to wear this shape of shawl. That's a personal problem. That's not a problem with the pattern. I just don't know, like, I know you can wear it with the point down, which is kind of what I'm doing. I guess you're supposed to do, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to stay without a shawl pin. So, I don't know. How do you wear this kind of shawl? Comment below with your suggestions. I think it's gorgeous though, and I'm really, really happy with this shawl because it gave me exactly what I needed that entire week and week and a half, because I just needed something to de-stress me, and this totally did that. So I recommend the pattern. It's really nicely written, and it's beautiful, and it uses a whole ball of Lion Brand mandala yarn, which is fabulous. Then I really don't remember what I did that weekend. I really don't. But this week I have been on Stitchcation. But before I did that, I again needed something kind of mindless because I was running around. Final grades were due. I am an adjunct professor at a university, so I do some online teaching, and I had about 200 students that I needed to enter final grades for. That's what I did last weekend. I couldn't remember because I blocked it out. So I just needed some decompression, and I had already finished the shawl. So what I have been working on is, of course, my Key Largo lace wrap, which is the pattern that I am working on. This is a Be So Fine 100% bamboo yarn by Kristen Omdahl. That was a lovely gift from Barb. I am close to being done with this. So if you've been waiting for this, I'm so sorry that it's taken so long. It's just the end of the semester is nuts. Nuts. I have actually done quite a bit on this. So let's see. This is how much I had done last time. And this is my stitch marker right here. I have actually done that much. So nothing to sneeze at. That's quite a significant amount for 3 or 4 days. The pattern is completely written up. I just need this to be done so that I can take photos. Once I take photos and determine how much yardage it used, then I will be able to send the pattern out to the testers. I have about 18 to 20 more repeats before it will be done. So I'm hoping that this will be done this week. I am gonna put some time into this and focus on it. This is the stitch pattern. They're like little tiny flowers. So pretty. And I can't wait. It's getting long enough now to like wrap around my shoulders. Woo, I'm attached. I'm attached to the bag. Okay, it's getting long enough, and man, I cannot wait till this is done and blocked and I can wear it when I go to the beach, because that's totally what this is for. So I've put a lot of work into that. Oh no, thread everywhere. I know I keep saying, oh, it'll hopefully be done this week, but I really think it will be done. I only have 18 more repeats and then I can block it. So by the next time you see me, this wrap should be done, and I should be able to take photos of it and send it off to my testers so that I can get the pattern out, because it's so perfect for summer, especially with the bamboo. I just love working with it. It's brought me so much joy. Then the other thing that I did at the beginning of this week is I swatched, because it's cardigan time. So if you have stuck around through the kind of winding, rambly beginning of this podcast episode, this is where it pays off. Because I have started 5 cardigans. Yes, 5. And we're gonna talk about all of them. So at the beginning of this week, I pulled out every single sweater's quantity of yarn, and I assigned a pattern to it. And then I swatched. And a couple of them I got gauge right away. Impressive, I think, considering I almost never get gauge. Some of them I had to go down a needle size, some of them I had to go up. I needed all of the swatches to be done before we went on Stitchcation. So if you're new to the channel, Stitchcation, Sewcation, is kind of a weekend each year. My best friend is part of a sewing circle, and they rent a house every year somewhere in Florida, and they just craft for like 3 days straight. And I don't really sew, but I get to go anyway. So last year I went and I crocheted for 3 days straight. This year we rented a house in Titusville, and they actually started a day early. So last year it was like Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and go home on Sunday. This year it was Wednesday night, so we had Thursday, Friday, and Saturday all day. So we went up there on Wednesday night. It was so beautiful, and there's gonna be some video. I really was horrible at taking video, honestly, because I was too busy crafting. But I did take a video of the view. It was right on the water. There was a pool. There was a hot tub. I definitely used that. There was a massage chair in this house, you guys. It was so fabulous. I sat in the massage chair every day. Every day. If I owned a massage chair, you'd never be able to get me out of it. So we arrived on Wednesday night, and I do not remember what I worked on Wednesday night, but Wednesday night and Thursday all day is my crochet time. Friday, I will talk about in a second because it's something shocking. And then Saturday was graduation. So let me talk about all these cardigans, you guys. First up is a pattern that is in the Cardigans e-book by Katie and the Squid, Katie Peterson. I want to say this has 6 cardigan patterns in it, and I bought the ebook because I want to make 4 of them. So I figured that would be a much better deal. I think it's $14 for all 6 patterns, or if you buy them individually, it's like $5.50 to $6 each one. So the one that I'm currently making, this isn't a great photo. It doesn't really show you, but this is the Stark cardigan by Katie Peterson. If you look on Ravelry, there's some really beautiful ones that have been made. And what I am making is, I'm using this Knit Picks Brava Sport yarn that was going to be the Magda cabled cardigan that I frogged twice and finally just let it go because I just didn't like how the cables were working up. My goal on this Stitchcation was to start all of the cardigans. So there's not a lot of progress. This is how much I have done. This is the back piece. And the reason my goal was to start all of the cardigans is because a lot of these require counting up front and then foundation stitches, so like a foundation single crochet, foundation half double crochet, and those take quite an amount of time. And you can't just pick up and do that. So I wanted to start all of these so that now if I'm at home, whatever I feel like working on, I can just pull it out and go. So it's a pretty simple stitch pattern so far. I know this doesn't look like a cardigan, but I promise it will be. This is going to be a seamed cardigan. And this is my little stitch marker. It's a butterfly. So there's a tiny bit. The last time you saw this yarn in something, it also looked like a crochet tapeworm, and it still does. Shocking. So that's cardigan number 1 that I started. Cardigan number 2, again, these are in no particular order. This is also a seamed cardigan, and it is a pattern that I have had printed off for quite a while and just haven't had a chance to make it yet. It's a free pattern. It is called, this is a really ingenious name, the Adults Crochet V-Neck Cardigan. This is what it looks like. This is a free pattern by Yarnspirations. I'm making this one. Now, I got really confused actually when I, because you always read the entire pattern before you start your garment. Yes? Yes. I got really confused because at the end of the garment, or at the end of the pattern, it says his version and her version. Like, do this for his version and do this for her version. And I was like, but I don't understand because both of these are modeled by women. So, and it doesn't say his version, her version. It says example A, example B. So I don't know what exactly they were doing, but I'm making this one. I'm making version 2, the pink one. And I've been wanting to make this for quite a while. And the yarn that I am using is Deborah Norville Everyday, which is 100% acrylic yarn. This is 100% anti-pilling acrylic. It's the same acrylic that I use to make my everyday cardigan in black that I really like. The only issue is I bought everything that Joann's had and I was not paying attention. These are not the same dye lot. They're both in the colorway Blue Heather, but can you see how obvious that difference is? This one has much more dark blue and this one's more muted. There's like, I don't know how many balls I have, 7 or 8. There's maybe 3 or 4 balls of this and more of this. So I wasn't really sure what to do. I think I'm gonna alternate skeins, but I'm not sure if that's gonna work either. So this is how much I have done. Again, just a tiny, tiny bit, but I did foundation. Oh no, this is actually ribbing. So you work the ribbing this way. And I did the ribbing all in this ball. And then you turn and go this way. So I think that actually is okay. So what I started doing is alternating skeins. So this right here is the muted, and then this is the more in your face color. So I'm gonna alternate every 2 rows. It may create kind of a subtle striping effect, but I don't think you'll be able to see it from far away. So I really like how the colorway is working up. This is the back piece again, and so I'm gonna do a whole back piece, and then it's a seamed cardigan as well. So then I'll do 2 fronts. So the ribbing took forever. So I'm really glad that I'm through the largest part of the ribbing. That's cardigan number 2. But there's more. I'm sorry if I keep going off camera. There's no way to pile this many cardigans on the table. The next cardigan. Actually, let me talk about this first. There is an order. There is an order. I spent a little bit of time when I had some brain power working on my blurred line sweater. Now, I didn't make so much progress that you're gonna be like, wow, but I did sit down and do all of the short row shaping. So it's living in this super awesome Halloween bag. That was a gift from Barb. Hi, Barb. I know you don't want me to make a big deal out of you, but I can't help it. You're just so fabulous. This is the Blurred Lines Sweater by Deanne from Addie Day Designs. It's a fabulous pattern. I am making this out of wool-like yarn. These two colorways. This is the colorway Cool Gray, and this is the colorway Teal Lake. When you saw this last, I just had the neckband done and one row. And it still kind of does not look impressive. But if you turn it this way, this is actually quite a few rows. This is all the short row shaping on the back of the neck. So if I put this on, oh, it fits so well. So now you can see it goes down a little bit further. And now I'm gonna start going around and around in a spiral because the way that she has the short rows, you go to a certain point and then you cut the yarn. So that is how far I went. And now I will be able to go around and around and around. I have to do some increases and stuff like that, but the pattern is really clearly written, so I'm excited to do that. I wanted to get through the yoke of this. I wanted to get all the way up to splitting for the armholes on this sweater, and it didn't happen for a reason which I shall disclose in a moment when I'm done talking about all of these cardigans. Next, there are two cardigans that I started, that are very similar. So there's a lovely viewer of the podcast whose name is Chris. Hi. She contacted me and said that she had some yarn that she wanted to send me because she used to have an eBay store and she closed it to kind of focus more on her and her family and things like that. So she had some extra yarn and she wanted to send me some. I mean, I'm not going to say no to that. When it arrived, I was like, oh my gosh, because it arrived 2 weeks ago and I'm pretty sure it arrived the same day that I was just so exhausted and I was just kind of having a bad day and I didn't want to crochet and everything was just overwhelming because sleep is important and I didn't have any. The amount of stuff she sent me, I had no idea that she was sending me this stuff. So let me show it to you quickly and then I'll show you the cardigan. She sent me wool-like yarn. So a bunch of these gray ones, 5 I think, a white one, a purple one. Oh no, 2 purple ones. 5 brown balls. And then like I said, 5 of these gray ones. So the gray ones are what I'm using for the cardigan. She also sent a skein of her favorite hand-dyed, indie dyed yarn, which is the Yarn Cafe Creations. Oh, can you see that sparkle? Oh my gosh. It smells so sheepy and it is absolutely gorgeous in the colorway Poison. So it's a merino nylon stellina blend and that was really, really sweet. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I think I have some yarn that it's going to match, but I'm not sure. It may need to live with me until I can figure out the perfect project for it, or maybe I'll design something for it. She also sent this, which says no problema. Like no problema, no problem. Okay. This is the cutest. I have not put anything in this because I've been waiting to show you guys. I kind of squeed when I opened this. And I sent her a message and I was like, oh my God, this llama bag. It's so cute. So it's really big. I'm very excited about this llama bag. Check back next time. There'll be something living in that llama bag. And she also sent some notions and things like that. So a beautiful clover crochet hook, some of these little light bulb stitch markers. This is, I don't know how well you can see this. This is a yarn guide for color work. Now, usually you would use that for knitting, but you can do crochet color work as well. So I'm interested to see how that will work for that. And then some tags. And also a row counter, but that's on a different bag. So anyways, she sent me gray wool-like yarn, 5 of them. And I have already some blue wool-like yarn that I had bought. I don't even remember what I bought this for. It's more of the teal lake colorway, but this is an older version of it because what I'm using for the blurred line sweater is a different dye lot and it's not quite this shade. I am making the Reminisce sweater by Heidi May. And the reason that I'm showing you these 2 cardigans in a row is not because I worked on them in a row, it's because they're by the same designer. So this is the Reminisce sweater. As you can see, it's kind of a V, it's got long sleeves, it's got cuffs that go over your thumb. And what I'm doing, because this is a fingering weight yarn, is I'm holding the yarn double and I'm marling it. Thank you, Stephen West. So I'm holding 1 strand of gray and 1 strand of blue. And I, again, barely started this. But this is what it looks like. So if you get really close, it looks a little strange, but from far away, it's like this. It's like a trick for your eye. It's like blue, is it gray? I don't know. So I'm marling it, and this is a raglan shaping. So this is only the foundation row, the setup row, and then a few more rows. And these are my stitch markers because eventually these will be the armholes. So this is a paid for pattern. So the Reminisce sweater by Heidi May, I believe it's $5 or $5.50 on Ravelry. That is where I purchased it from because I have wanted to make this cardigan for a while, and I just, in lieu of hand-dyed yarn for this cardigan, because I think that would be gorgeous, but also completely out of the budget, I think 2 strands of wool-like yarn, because it calls for DK in the pattern. That's perfect. So now that it's started, because again, I had to do all of the foundation, half double crochets, and blah, 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 which take forever. So now that that's started, I can just pick that up and work on it anytime I like. It's living in my super cute Christmas ornament bag that Charlie gifted me. The second one is also a pattern by Heidi May. So I have wanted to make, I actually have most of her cardigan patterns in my Ravelry library, just waiting for me to do them. But this one is very similar. It's called the Envision. It's a little bit shorter and it does not have the thumb hole. This is also a paid for pattern. So it's the same price, like $5 or something like that. The Envision cardigan. They're basically the same pattern, honestly. Like so far, I have not noticed any differences in the pattern. I know there will be some differences in the length and things like that because the Envision cardigan, of course, is much longer. But essentially, they're the same pattern. I am not upset that I paid for 2 patterns because they're a little bit different. And I mean, I know the designer had to work really hard on these sweater patterns. I know what it's like to even put out a shawl pattern, how much work that is. So to put out a sweater pattern and even make modifications to the length and the ribbing and the thumb holes, I am completely okay with purchasing that from her. But I just want you to know that they're virtually the same pattern. So if you're going to purchase one, I probably recommend purchasing the Reminisce sweater that I just showed you because you can always shorten it and then you'll have the instruction for the thumb holes. Whereas this one is a little bit shorter and does not have the thumb hole instruction. So this one actually has a pretty good amount of work done on it. I don't know why I keep reaching for this cardigan, but I do, and so I'm not gonna argue. It's living in, it's probably because of the bag it's living in, of course. This amazing bag that I got from Faye, who has the Crochet Circle podcast and the Knit It, Hook It, Craft It company. She had these beautiful waxed cotton Harris tweed bags that I was over the moon about and harassed her about for like 4 months straight until I finally got one. So that's what it's living in. The yarn I am using is a yarn that I have wanted to try for some time, but I just haven't had a project. So I was really excited to be able to try this yarn. It's the Lion Brand jeans yarn. And it's not the regular jeans, it's the colors. They just came out with this. They've had the blues and the grays for a little while. This is the colorway Jumpsuit, and it's like a pinky red. That is showing up pretty true to color on camera. It's not blowing out at all. So I have 6 of these. I don't know that that's gonna be enough. I may have to go back to Joann's, but I bought everything they had when I got this sweater's quantity. So I don't know if that's gonna be enough, but that's the reason I'm using this yarn for the shorter cardigan. Smart, smart, you guys. Are you ready? This is how much I have done. This is almost the entire yoke. Now, this looks gigantic, and I keep thinking when I'm going on the row, like, there's no way, this is gonna be way too big, but I keep measuring for my size, and it's the right size. So let me just show you how it'll work. You see this, it looks huge, and you think, no way, that's not gonna fit. It will fit. So I'm done with the increases. This is basically a top-down raglan. So I'm done with the increases, and I'm thinking, gosh, this is huge, but I only have about 2 more inches, and then it's gonna start the sleeves, and this is actually a little tight. So as soon as this goes underneath the arm, it's gonna fit really well. And there's not a huge amount of stitches or anything that's gonna be chained under the arm, so I think it's gonna be absolutely fine. And this is as far as the V-neck will go, and then it's gonna go straight. So you see how they touch? It's perfect. I'm really happy with this. Eventually, this will come down, so I won't have these giant shoulder pads, and then it'll have a really thin edging put on it. I don't know if it's gonna have buttons or not, but yeah, I'm really happy with this. I love the color. The yarn is really soft. So far, I've been quite happy while working with it. It's been really pleasurable. It's slightly splitty. Look at this cool stitch marker. It says yarn. It's a yarn ball. It does split a little bit, not when I'm going through the stitch, but when I'm coming back through the stitch. Sometimes it won't catch the whole thread, but I'm pretty happy with this. This is the one I've been turning to the most. Check back for more updates in the future. So how many cardigans was that? 1, 2, 3, 4 cardigans I have shown you. So that means there's still 1 more. This one is living in this giant cat bag that my friend Caitlin made for me quite some time ago. And you can probably guess that this is my crimson hooded crochet cardigan. By Sheba Guys. This is a pattern in the 2018 Interweave Crochet Magazine, winter. Again, it doesn't look like much. I did get all of my yarn in. This is Valley Yarns Haydenville. This is a Webb's yarn. Oh, it's so soft. This is 60% superwash merino, 40% acrylic, and it's pretty reasonably priced. I have 18 balls of this. I'm not gonna pull them all out because I'll never get them back in the same way. Here's the row counter that Chris sent me. Basically what you do is you just, whenever you're done with the row, you just hit this and then it locks so you cannot lose your place, which is why it's attached to this bag, because this is quite a project. I actually worked up an entire ball of yarn. I know it doesn't look like a ton, but this is one whole ball of yarn. Oh, it has been such a joy to work with. This is the back panel. I have to get, for my size, 55 rows of single crochet before the cabling design starts. I am at 35 rows. I got 35 rows out of one ball, plus this much yarn. That's what's holding the row counter onto the bag. That is all the yarn in one ball, and I have to do another 20 rows before I get to anything interesting. So this took several hours to make this. I'm gonna keep going. I'm in love with it. And in fact, I'm in love with it so much that rows of endless single crochet for like over 100 stitches don't bother me at all. It's so pretty. So I may actually be making 2 of these because somebody wants me to make them one. But I am going to make one for myself first. This is my entry into the Love Yourself Cal. It is my ultimate crochet project that I just have to work on. So I'm gonna make that, and then she'll be able to try it on and see if it fits her, if I need to make any adjustments. I don't really make sweaters for people because the fit is such a tricky thing, especially on a seamed garment. But if she really wants one, I will let her try on mine because she does live fairly close to me, and then I will go from there if she wants me to make one. So that's the crochet that I did, mostly from Wednesday till Thursday night. On Friday, we went to a quilt shop, like all the sewing people went to a quilt shop. And I spent the whole day sewing, which is ridiculous because I didn't even take my sewing machine. So I stole Caitlin's machine all day for like 8 hours. So what had happened was when we went to the quilt shop, I think it was called the Quilt Place. I took some video, which I'll put at the end. It is the biggest quilt shop I think I've ever seen in my life. And I found a pattern because I really want to get a sewing machine that works, which I'm working on it, and to sew some bags. So I saw this. It's called the Candace, and it's for a tote bag. And this right here is a pocket. So I bought this because it's a pretty, I'm not gonna say it's a beginner pattern, but it's a beginner friendly pattern because it has lots of pictures. Like this is like 8 to 12 pages long, and most patterns do not come like that. So I bought this, and then I found some fabric that I really loved, but it was kind of expensive, and I was like, no, because I'm gonna mess it up, so I don't wanna spend $12 a yard on some fabric that I know I'm gonna mess up. So let me just wait, I'll go home. I have some scraps of fabric that I'll use, and like I'll go to Hobby Lobby or I'll go to Joann's or whatever. Well, Caitlin bought me the fabric. I needed 3/4 of a yard. So then we went to Hobby Lobby later, and I picked out cheap fabric for the other, I needed 2 more colors. I made a tote bag, y'all. I could not in a million years have done this without Caitlin's help and Terry's help, the lady who organized these, Stitchcation. This is going to be my entry into the Dodgy Bag Make-Along, which is being hosted by Claudia of Crochet Luna and Allie of Little Drops of Wonderful podcast. She makes these bags, and she says they're not perfect. They're like dodgy bags. I know you're going to say this doesn't look like a dodgy bag. I promise you it is, because I had to redo the side seams because I put my hand through one before it was finished. Look at this. This is the fabric. It's got these amazing little trees on it that she bought me, and then I bought this purple, and then there is this blue, green, turquoise on the inside. So I learned a ton making this bag. Number one, did you know that cutting with scissors and a tape measure is not really the best way to cut things? I have scissors and a tape measure at home, and that's how I have been cutting my fabric. Silly goose. No, you cut fabric with a rotary cutter on a cutting mat. Especially if you're making bags and you need things to be perfectly square. So, of course, everyone there had cutting mats. So I used a cutting mat, and I learned how to square off fabric, and I learned how to use a rotary cutter. And this bag is not just pieces sewn together. Everything in here is interfaced. So there's lots of interfacing, if you don't know, is a kind of an iron-on fabric that makes flimsy cotton fabric stiffer so that the bag will hold its shape. There's not just interfacing in here, though. There's batting. There is batting on this part, right? Yeah, there's batting on the front. So this right here has batting, and this back panel has batting. Batting is like a thicker interfacing in the sense that it gives like a squishiness to your fabric. There's also fusible fleece in here for this panel, because this is the front, and then there's a panel in between this and the middle of the bag. There is a zipper in this. There are D-rings. These are handles. The handles are interfaced. Oh my gosh, I had no idea how much work sewing was. And also, did you know that sewing is mostly not sewing? So if you sit down to sew, I would say like 80% of the time you're going to be cutting, pressing, not ironing, pressing. There's a difference. Trimming, pinning, things like that. All of that, and then 20% actual sewing on the machine. I learned how to use zipper tape, which is a fabulous invention to help you put zippers in. So let's talk about this bag, because I cannot believe that I made this. These are the straps. They have interfacing. They're thick. They're like Vera Bradley straps. Can we talk about how straight these seams are? They're amazing. This is the front. This is a pocket. So this whole thing is a pocket. You could put whatever you wanted in the front and go all the way down to the bottom. This is the back. It's just plain. And this is the top where the zipper is. Let me close it. Look at that zipper. It's actually inset, so you can't see it. If you're just holding the bag like this, you can't see that it's a zipper. It's down like an inch. There's a super cute zipper pull that's a tree and matches. This is the lining, and that's not all, because I don't know how I'm going to show this to you. I'll try and turn it inside out a little bit. Look at all these pockets. There are 8 pockets on the inside, all around the bottom of the bag, in different heights and different widths. And the pockets are interfaced. Everything is very sturdy in this bag. The reason I say this is a dodgy bag, I actually did not do the final top stitching around the edge. I made Caitlin do that because I was too scared. But when there's also some kind of really stiff material, I don't know what it's called, in the bottom of the bag that we fused interfacing to and then sewed to the box seams inside between the lining and the outside, that helps it stand up. So it's almost like cardboard is in the bottom, but it's not cardboard. And when I turned it all inside out and was just gonna sew up the very last little bit, Caitlin said, check your seams. And I was checking my seams and my fingers went straight through the side seam. Because 1/4 of an inch to me is not 1/4 of an inch. Apparently, I cannot sew in a straight line, which normally doesn't matter because my seams are on the inside. However, the bag was going to fall apart. So I had to unpick the whole side seam and redo it, and then do the other one because it also wasn't going to work or hold up. So that was a small snafu, but eventually it got turned inside out. And right here, oh, I can just pull the lining out and show you the pockets. Here we go. It's upside down, but look at all these pockets. There's a big one. I made an extra big one for no apparent reason. This is the part where you turn the bag inside out. Right there. That's my little seam. So that took, no joke, like 8 hours. Whew. So that is why I did not get any crochet done on Friday, because I was too busy sewing this tote bag, which I am in love with. And I want to make some more, although I don't have any fabric for it. I'm gonna have to wait until I get a better sewing machine, I think, to make this, because the one that I have currently is not going to go through all the layers of fabric. But I have the pattern, so I think I will be able to do this myself. Now that I have made one, I know what to do. And I mean, the worst thing that can happen is I have to rip it out, right? Just frog, use a seam ripper. So this is Friday's Sewcation accomplishment. I could not be more thrilled with this. I can't believe I made it. Like, that's insane. And of course, like I said, I could not have done that without help, but I'm pretty impressed with that. And it was such an enjoyable experience. So I kind of want to sew some more. I cut out a little bit of fabric, and I have some little drawstring bags all cut out and slightly pieced together that I just have not been able to get to, which I could sew those on my current sewing machine. Everything has been so crazy, but now I really want to do it. So that was Friday, and then Saturday, oh, do you know what happened on Friday? You guys, the house we were staying at It was right on the water, not the ocean, the Indian River. And so we were on the edge of the water, and then across the river was the Kennedy Space Center. You could see the Kennedy Space Center, NASA, from the house we were staying at. And guess what they did on Friday? They launched a rocket. A rocket! It was, I really love NASA. I have been there a couple of times when I was really little. Not really little, I don't know, I was probably like 10. I got the chance to go and sleep under the Saturn V rocket because my aunt, Denise, hi Aunt Denise, I know you're watching. I was taking her class of students like all the way to NASA, and I guess 2 people had dropped out, so me and my mom got to go. And I remember sleeping under that rocket, like in my sleeping bag, and with all these kids, and it is huge, huge warehouse, and it was the coolest thing, I think, ever. And I need to take my husband there because I don't think he's ever been there because he didn't grow up in Florida. It is so awesome. I was there when they launched the last shuttle. We all trekked over there, and my parents and my aunts and my uncles and cousins, and we all trekked over to watch them launch the last shuttle because it was the last one, and they've cut NASA's funding. And I don't really get political on this podcast, but why do you cut NASA? NASA's the coolest. So they were launching a SpaceX rocket. Now, it was an unmanned rocket, I believe, but they launched it. They were supposed to launch it on Thursday, and it got scrubbed because there was some abort code like in the last 60 seconds. But on Friday, they tried again, and they launched it. It was so cool. So you're sitting there, and you see it go up, and all the thrusters and the fuel and everything's exploding, and it's going straight up, and you see the trail, and you don't hear anything. And we were fairly close, like maybe 5 miles away or something like that. And then after it's like way up in the sky, you feel the sound before you hear the sound, and it's like this. I can't do it. Clearly I cannot make rocket noises, but the sound was crazy. You just like feel it vibrating through your whole body and like going and going. Oh man, that was so cool. So that was Friday night. And I did not take a video of that, but I have a video that someone else took that I will insert at the end of this episode so you can see the rocket going up. It's a little grainy because it's a cell phone. And it's, well, of course, we're kind of far away, but you can definitely see the rocket going up, which is awesome. Saturday, I graduated. I'm going to try and keep it together for this part of the podcast because I'm bound to get a little bit emotional. If you have been with me for a while, you will know that I was working on a master's degree. And for those of you who don't know, it was a Master of Arts in Theological Studies. It is my second master's degree. I have a degree already in ministry leadership. This particular degree is specifically pre-PhD work, which I'm not going back for a PhD at the moment because I'm tired. I really need a break, but I will be going back for my PhD eventually. And please, I don't want you to think that I'm like, oh, I'm so smart, I'm going to get a PhD. No. If you are not 1,000% sure that you have been called to get a PhD, please, oh man, don't start that. It is, this master's degree, it took me 5.5 years. It was only 60 credit hours, but of course I worked full time the whole time. I have a family. I had a job for part of it that made me travel all over the place. And I've been teaching 2 to 3 classes a semester, usually online as an adjunct professor. So if I just had school, then it probably would not have caused me the amount of anxiety that it did because I love school. Like, I am a certified nerd, which is fine. Like, that's just who I am. But having that on top of everything else in my life, some days it felt like it would never end. I took a year off in the middle of this degree after I made the ridiculously horrible mistake of taking Greek online. Bad idea. And the professor was horrible. Is the only bad professor I've had the entire time in this degree. He would not respond to any of my emails. He was not helpful. I literally, that whole semester was me sitting at the kitchen table with my Greek book saying, I don't know what this is. Like, I could not handle it. And I'm not very good at languages, but I squeaked out an A in that class, but I don't really know any Greek, which is kind of a problem. But anyways, so I was working on that degree for 5.5 years, working full time, just basically putting one foot in front of the other. And the school I was going to is called Asbury Theological Seminary. They are based in Kentucky, but they have a campus in Orlando, which is specifically designed for adult students. So instead of going every week for a class, you just go like once or twice a semester for like 2 10-hour days, and you get all of your class hours done in that time. So that's what I had been doing for the last few years. So I did half of the coursework online, and the other half was in residence. And when I was there, it was the best thing because I love school, and this is what I'm meant to do. And okay, I can't go down that road. I'm gonna cry. But it was really, really hard. And the last semester, I know you guys were with me last semester, was some of the episodes. I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Yeah, so last semester was probably the hardest semester of my life because I was working full time still. And I was working at church part-time, and I was an adjunct professor for 3 classes, which is a lot on top of working full-time. And I was taking 3 classes so that I could graduate. So that whole semester I was like, I just need to make it till December. And I made it, and then I was able to transition jobs. So if you don't know, I now work at a church as a pastor. I'm not like the pastor, but I'm a pastor on staff at Relevant Church in Ybor City, Florida, if you care to look that up. I don't know. And it's been just amazing since then. But so I finished my coursework in December. I got my diploma, which I showed off on the podcast, but the actual graduation ceremony was on Saturday. And I have a few pictures, which I will insert at the end for you to see in my cap and gown, and a little video where I got my master's hood. And it was a pretty emotional day. I had to leave. It actually worked out pretty well because I had to be there at 7:30 a.m. for rehearsal. And graduation wasn't until 11 a.m. And if I had to leave my house in St. Pete to get there, I would have had to leave at like 5 a.m. But because I was in Titusville, I was only an hour away. Titusville, if you guys don't know, it's where the Kennedy Space Center is, but it's like a half an hour north of Cocoa Beach, if you know where that is. So I was able to get up at 6 and like leave at 6:30, so it was fine. My parents came, my husband, my brother, they were all there for the ceremony. The ceremony was really nice. I've graduated twice before, and it was not nearly this nice. Like, we showed up at 8, we had a rehearsal, we all took communion. Now, granted, this is a theological seminary, so it was not a large graduating class. There was 27 people there to receive their degrees. Most of them were Master of Arts and Master of Divinity, and then there was one PhD, or DMin, Doctor of Ministry. So but after rehearsal, they served us like this lovely breakfast while we were waiting. And then we had the ceremony, which was beautiful. And man, it was hard to keep it together because it was such a long process. And I love school. Like, I truly love school. But if I had known how hard this was going to be, not the school part, but just everything combined, if I had known at the beginning that it was going to take this long and how hard it was going to be, I might have said, no, I'm not going to do this. But I didn't know, so I started. And I finished, which is pretty awesome, to me anyways. And I almost cried like most of the ceremony. So I didn't. I kept it together because I didn't have any waterproof makeup on. Stupid. But I didn't take any with me to Titusville. So I kept it together. After the ceremony, I was able to go. They had a little reception at the actual school. So the ceremony was at the church, and then there was a school where they had like lovely food and desserts and all kinds of stuff. And I got to show my parents and my husband like where I went to school, like the classrooms and the library and all of that stuff. So that was really, really nice. And then after that, my husband and my brother went back home, my parents went back home, and I drove back to Titusville, where I promptly sat on the couch and drank a beer was the cider. And I just stared at the wall for a little while because I was so emotional. Like, I mean, I was done with my coursework in December and I got my diploma and everything. So that was, I've had time to prepare for this, but just to be able to know that it's finished and that I made it despite everything. Oh, jeez. Oh my gosh. Can't do this. I'm not going to cry on this podcast. All I have to say, and I in no way want to make anyone feel like I'm trying to push religion on you, or I'm not trying to preach to you right now. This is just my life and my experience. That all I can say is that God is faithful, and I know that He called me to that degree and to that school, and He brought me through, and now I'm done. So anyways, it was pretty emotional. So I did not cry during the ceremony, but I did cry on the way back to Titusville because I just like had a lot of pent up emotion. And then, so I got back, I did not have the energy to crochet. Like, I was just so drained. So we went to Hobby Lobby. As you do, there was a Hobby Lobby like half a mile from our house that we were staying at. And I came back, we went and got soul food for dinner, which was really good. And then I went outside, I like listened to the water for a little while. And when I came back inside, when I got back from graduation, everyone like yelled and cheered and we ate cookies. But when I came back inside from just kind of being outside and listening to the water at night, this was several hours later, and they all sat me down on a couch and said they had something for me. And I was like, oh, okay. Then I really cried because these ladies, first of all, everyone kind of chipped in a couple of dollars, and they went to Hobby Lobby while I was at graduation on Saturday morning and bought me a cutting mat because they had heard that I cut with scissors and a measuring tape. So not only was it a cutting mat, but it came with, ooh, I just almost dropped it. This is like the cutting guide and ruler and a rotary cutter. So that was lovely. And then Caitlin's mom, Teresa, made me, and I saw her working on this, and I saw her buy the pattern. I thought she was making it for her car. This, which is like a tri-fold sewing pouch, because I really do want to sew more. That's my 2018 goal. It's got this cool clasp. It's got a pocket in the back. This thing is incredible. So it's got this handle. It's got a pocket right here. This is like a mini felt board. So if you're ever laying out squares or little pieces, you can stick them on this and arrange it and they won't move. They'll stick to the felt board. It's got a pocket for that. It's got this cool little clasp, which I cannot get undone and look at the camera at the same time. So you undo it. Ooh. These are chalk pencils for marking. Look at this. This is so, it's got clear plastic pockets. 3 of them. She made this in a day. And it's full of stuff that everyone donated from their stash. So in this pocket up top, there is a little ruler. There is a seam ripper, which obviously I will need. There are some crazy thread snippers, which could kill someone probably. This is a little pocket, which is a gauge. It's a 1-inch gauge. These are little clips, sewing machine clips. Like instead of using straight pins to pin stuff, you can use these clips. There's a magnetic straight pin dish and a whole thing of like long, fancy straight pins. That's gotta be new because they're all going the same way. All of this beautiful thread. And then here is the rotary cutter. It has its own pocket. And this right here is for needles. Not sewing machine needles, hand sewing needles. You put them in there and it has this little cover so they don't get lost and they don't stab anything. So they kept telling me not to cry. And they gave me like this lovely card that everyone signed. And I just couldn't handle it. Like obviously I know Caitlin and I know Teresa and I know a couple of the ladies, but the rest of them only met me last year at Stitchcation. And I don't know, just that they went out of their way to do that for me, and that she spent all day making that beautiful bag just kind of blew me away. And obviously I cried, and they were like, don't cry. And I was like, I need tissues, I can't. So I cried for like 10 minutes. But oh man, it was just so special. And I know that I will treasure that for a really long time, forever probably, while I sew things, because I am going to keep sewing. And obviously I'm going to cut things the proper way now, not just using scissors and a measuring tape. So that was, I didn't get any crochet done on Saturday. I think I did like 1 row on a sweater. It was just too emotional, too busy of a day. Sunday morning I got up, went straight to church. So it was like a 2.5 hour drive. We had church, I came home, I immediately took a nap. And by nap, I mean like a small coma, because I woke up an hour later in the same exact position I fell asleep on, like on my arm like this, and my whole side of my body was numb. And then I was just wiped out for the rest of the day. I don't know why I thought I could record a podcast yesterday. There was not a chance. So my husband and I watched like Saturday Night Live, and we ordered Italian food and we ate it. And then we went to bed really early because I was just so exhausted. So today I have gone to work, and now I'm home, and it's raining still, so we have terrible lighting for this episode. But that is the story of the last 2 weeks. I think that's everything I meant to show you. If it's not, I don't know, we're gonna have to wait till 2 weeks from now. So I just want to say, if you're still watching, and if I forgot to say this at the beginning, so it'll mean more when I say it now. If you're a new viewer, I appreciate you. I hope that you enjoyed spending a little bit of crafty time with me. I love doing this every 2 weeks. If you're a returning viewer, if you've been here for a few weeks or months or since the beginning, just know that I really appreciate you, and I feel blessed to be able to talk to you every 2 weeks and be a part of this awesome community. It just brings me so much joy and so much happiness. And I know that I've been super emotional this episode. It's probably from a lack of sleep, or maybe it's just because I am emotional. Normally I'm a little bit more happy than this, but I feel like I had a good reason. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your life with me. I'm happy to share my life with you, and I hope that spending an hour with me gave you some joy and happiness in your life. If you liked this video, do give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to be kept up to date for any future videos that go on this channel, hit the subscribe button down below, and the little bell notification will give you like a notification in your feed when I upload a video, if you want a specific notification, not just to pop up on your subscriptions page. So until I talk to you again, thank you for watching, thank you for being here, happy crafting, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye! P.S. Stay tuned for cool videos!